Hi everybody, this is Jagan. So in this video we are going to take a look into this web application security using Google Recaptcha. Okay, so Google Recaptcha is actually I think it's a free service up to 10 lakh validations that you can do, and it is very effective that you can include this as a part of your web application security. So we can also call this as a fraud detection score, a response that is given by Google, ranging from 0.0 till as well 0.9 is something malicious, and beyond 1 and above 1.0 and above is called as the healthy user. Okay, something like that. So just read the Google documentation accordingly. So if you just take a look at this diagram, right, this is going to be my setup here. Okay, so what I have done is I have Linode as my cloud infrastructure. So what I have done is these are the two applications that I'm going to test. One is my rootca.co.in and another one is the jaganproxy.in. Okay, this is going to be a static website for now. You can just assume that as a web application itself. Okay, just for the demonstration purpose. So what you can say, in any web application you have the front end and the back end, right? In the front end, what we used to do is we may have some HTML code and you can include a JavaScript. Okay, and in addition to that you can use the client-side API key of Google's Recaptcha. Okay, this client-side API key of the Google's Recaptcha, and you can make use of the server-side API key also from Google Recaptcha. Okay, and you need to deploy it accordingly. So in the setup, if you could see here, these are my web applications that I'm going to protect it: rootca.co.in and jaganproxy.in. So what I have done in the statically, okay, going inside I have deployed a default nginx with let's encrypt the SSL, and inside this var www.html directory we have the default file, right, index debian html. In that file I have used this HTML JavaScript and the client side API key accordingly for both applications. Okay, so for both these basic applications, right, either whether it is rootca.co.in or jaganproxy.in, which needs to be protected, I am using single API key resources of Google's Recaptcha. Okay, I have used a single account, and inside that account I am using just the single API services of for both the server side and also the client side integration. Also, I didn't do multiple deployments for rootca.co.in and also jaganproxy.in and again for jagan.test.in, because I have an nginx proxy set up as another instance. Okay, inside that proxy instance I am forwarding this my web application which needs to be protected is hidden, right? This is going to be protected and redirected as jagantest.in with 4443, and jaganproxy.in will be hidden behind the jagantest.in with 5443. The only difference between um, these two applications getting hidden is the port number, so users will not directly reach rootca.co.in and jaganproxy.in. They will be hitting jagantest.in and just L443, so they get redirected to rootca.co.in as the application, and same jagantest.in with a different port number 5443. See the difference here? Okay, 5443, and they go back to jaganproxy.in, right? They go to jaganproxy, which is the another application. So we're going to have a generic HTML JavaScript and the client side API code, very common, right, with just some header changes with texts, difference of text, that's all. So you can assume they are two different applications using this nginx proxy, and I have also included a mutual TLS configuration, and also assuming only the authorized devices having the client certificate gets logged into these two applications and access them, just assuming that as a scenario. But I'm not going to talk about mutual TLS, because in jagansecurity.blogspot.com you have a separate content written to configure mutual TLS, and that is discussed there very well detailed in the implementation aspects. Okay, this is the picture, and what happens is that once you deploy the nginx proxy, right, so I have another instance here, which is the Python score Flask score collector. It is a separate Linux instance. In that Linux instance I am running a Flask application, Python Flask application, where I have configured the Google Recaptcha's server side API key, so that whenever the page loads for this application 4443 and 5443, right? So the client side has the very common API keys. They just come to this and Flask server, and the Flask server asks the Google Recaptcha using the server-side API key and validates the score of the users accessing these applications through ca.co.in and proxy.in via the nginx proxy, and they get a return score ranging from 0.0 to 2, maybe, right? Something less than 1 is bad, something greater than 1 is good, something like that. Okay, so here I'm now what I'm going to do with the score is that whatever the Google Recaptcha returns me a score, I'm just going to store it in my separate Linux server in the form of a JSON or something, whatever that you like to do. So I'll be sharing these source codes, right? This source code, HTML, JavaScript, and the client API key, this code, and also this Python Flask collector, what you need to do it, right, to interact with Google Recaptcha, right? And I also share you the dashboard now. So I'll just show you my now I will show you the project directory, what I'm actually having. So this is going to be my project directory. I'll be hosting this in my YouTube description in the form of a Google Drive, so you can download that zip file. That zip file will have 3 files. One is going to be the Google Recaptcha.html and Google Recaptcha.py file, which is the Flask application, and gresponse.service is nothing but the Linux service that helps to run this Python Flask application continuously as a backend service. Thereby this server, whenever the page loads, right, for the rootca.co.in and jaganproxy.in via this nginx proxies 443 and 543, that will continuously have request to this Flask server, and the Flask server return asks the Google Recaptcha for the score and keeps on storing that information inside the store Flask collector. Okay, but in production environment, what we do is that we can even call the score directly to this application itself. We can call the score right away here, and you can tell the user also through the HTML code, hey man, this is your score, 0.9. You can show a pop-up on the browser. Even that is also possible, that you can give a try. But in another production use cases, what we usually do is we just see the scores from Recaptcha and response, and we will inform the web server to take action on those requests, to block them using the source IPs and all these things. We can automate in whichever way you want, but this concept is nothing but how are you going to integrate the Google's Recaptcha. That is the actual logic here. Okay, and it will give you some basics how you can tune it accordingly for your web applications. Okay, let's get started and let's see the demonstration here. Okay, so as I mentioned here, in my, this is going to be my directory, right? This is my directory. Okay, these things are already active with me. I will tell you those files one by one. So let's go in there. So this is my, I think I lost my session. Let me restart this. Close the whole one. So okay, so cd/var no, not here, sorry, I'm talking about, yeah, okay, so cd space gresponse. Okay, this is my project directory. So the console what I'm showing here, right, in this server, the project is residing here, right? So that is all about this concept, and mainly here and this server, whatever I am showing here, right, whatever I show you here, it mainly talks about this model of deployment, this setup, and mainly this server console. Okay, this service. Okay, that is what is done in the Cloud Linux server, where I'm going to save the score. Okay, let me show you that. So let me hit ls. Okay, there are 2 Python scripts, if you could see, gresponse.py, and this Flask application saves this Recaptcha log. Okay, so when I run the script, it will create this file for you automatically, and you can tail it and you can see the score what is getting returned. Now let me clear the old one. Okay, so let me give tail dash f. So let know what is our idea. I need to run this jagantest.in 443 and jagantest.in 5443, right? If I get 443, I'll go to rootca.co.in. If I go to 5443, and I'll go to jagantproxy.in. But since Nginx is behaving as the reverse proxy, it is not going to show you the rootca.co.in. Instead, it is just treated as an hidden web application or protected application. So only this domain with the specific port number will be available. Okay, and protected by the mutual TLS, and respectively the page contents will get deferred for you. Okay, so I will tell you where this picture is actually coming up. So let's see in the later part of this video itself. Now let's go ahead and watch the console. The console is already on. Okay, now this is my incognito page just for your demonstration purpose. If you could see here, right, jagantest.in 443, which takes me to the rootca.co.in, and another one is, if you check at the lower URL, it is jagantest.in 5443, right? So this is already loaded. I have written a load condition during the window load. I need to generate the log and save it in my Flask collector, the return response whatever that is received from Google Recaptcha service. So let's do that. So let me refresh, reload both the applications. Okay, so once I did a reload of my 443 application, right, once I did a quick reload, so if you highlight, you can see much better during the screen recording. So once I did that, what happened was, if you could see the backend, right, there's a return score says me as 0.9. okay, actually this is getting saved here in my Python Flask score collector as a log file. Okay, hope you get me. This is getting scored, and this score you can make it in the backend. You can tell whether the web application should be loaded to the user or not, or it should get redirected to some other denied page, throwing him a warning, or you can just make the page to freeze using your coding skills, and you can stop him not to go there, right? You can keep this for your other later logging purpose and research purposes, and since I am also seeing the timestamps, right, so this will help you in audit purposes. And let's go ahead and refresh the second page also, second application, and that's the same thing, it gets with the same name. So both applications I am accessing from the same browser, so same browser and location. That's why Google gives the same score, 0.9 and 0.9 for both these web applications. Okay, you got it. So using the responses that you get from Google Recaptcha, you can decide whether to block the user or not. Okay, that's the main thing here. Now let's go ahead and see the project directory, what I have actually done. Okay, so this is what will be available for you in the Google Drive that I give you. So this Google Recaptcha.py is nothing but gresponse.py. They are similar. Okay, and this Google Recaptcha, which is the HTML file, right, this HTML file, this particular same code, whether it is a Recaptcha version 3.demo, whatever you see here in the incognito page, right, Recaptcha version 3.demo, and another one with Jagant Recaptcha version 3. Another application, since it is two different, right, 5443 and 4443, I have just used the same coding only, but with the different header concepts, treating it as a separate application just for understanding purpose. Okay, but the whole code, right, it is going to remain the same. Okay, there is no please don't have any confusion. Okay, and another main thing that you need to see is that, right, from where did I get this client side API key and server side API key? Okay, so let's log into Google Recaptcha. Okay, once you have your personal account or official account, you can Google for Recaptcha, and since you have the single sign-on, it will directly take you to your login page, and you can see this here, right? And see here what I have done. I have used my jagantest.in is my ng proxy phasing, right, for security purposes. So I have registered with jagantest as the label, and we can just go to the settings tab and I can show you the keys also that I have used. So I'm using Google's Recaptcha version 3, and if I just pull down this menu using this up arrow down arrow button, I'll be able to see this client-side integration API key and also the server-side integration key. Okay, so if I say client-side integration key, since I have the HTML code right, I'm using this clients, I'm just highlighting it here in two different places inside the HTML JavaScript. I'm highlighting this in two different locations, which letter starts from 6 and ends with Q. It is taken from here. See, can you see this? 6Q. I copied it from here and I use it for client-side integration, and HTML JavaScript I have embedded here. So in this HTML code, this API will be in two different locations. Can you see this? If you just run the script, you can understand it on your own. Okay, so that client-side API key, the same key is used in two different parts in my HTML code, so that for rendering on loading purpose, and I am written a Windows on load condition to run the script. Okay, so for two different applications, I'm using the same script and also the same API keys. Okay, so I'll just show you in their respective servers. Okay, this is my one such server. I'll just take a location. cd /. So I am using Nginx as my thing. So the default HTML code and the JavaScript resides here. If you could see, right, this Recaptcha version 3 demo starts with 6 and ends with Q. API keys I have used here, right? And also if you could see me here, this Recaptcha version 3 demo, this is the same thing that you are I mean not the title part here, sorry, I'm in this page actually, Jagan Recaptcha version 3 demo, right? So this is something that it has got loaded from here, Jagan Recaptcha version 3, and I'm using the same key that I've been using for the client-side integration, which I copied it from Google Recaptcha admin console. Okay, now I will show the another one also. Yes, whether it is this or this. Yeah, I think this is correct. Sound name. So let me take a duplicate session. Okay, cd /var www html. Okay, and you can see this header, right? Recaptcha version 3 demo, just similar to Jagan Recaptcha. There another one with 443 port number. It's here. It's the one. It's the same script. But if you could see this client-side integration API key, I have taken it from the Google Recaptcha console. I'm using in two different places. Okay, this file will be but don't worry, I'll be giving you this in the Google Drive, the HTML format. You can use the same thing and you can give a try and you can modify it accordingly if you want. Alright, now this we have seen about this client-side integration, right? Now what about the server-side integration? Server-side integration is going to be this guy. So we need to look into this guy now, this Python Flask score collector. Let's go back there. Yeah, he's here. So sorry, I need to restart my sessions. They're getting frozen frequently. So yes, G response. Okay, so I told you, right, this is what I am using it as a tail command to look at these logs. So these logs will getting generated if since this code is running continuously at the backend in the form of the Linux service. Okay, so I'll tell you where the server side key is getting utilized here. So let me cat this up quick. So if you could see here, this is the key, starts with 6 and ends with J. Okay, starts with 6 and ends with J. That for the server side integration. So I am using it in my Flask score collector. The scores are getting collected there, right? So there I'm using it. Okay, so having this done, okay, the next is the next setup is I have, so okay, I'll show you this also. See here, this recaptcha.log, which I'm using it for tail over here, right, tail command. This is also getting generated by the same script. Okay, so now let's go back and I just give you one more ls. Okay, if you go to my Google Drive and if you download my source codes, right, you will have this g response py and thing, right? This g, don't get confused, this g response.py, if you download the source code, that is very much equal, that is the same as the Google recaptcha.py file. Okay, if you download Google recaptcha.py, don't get confused, it is the same, it is same as a gresponse.py. Just the, sorry, it is getting deferred because of my implementation purpose and R&D. Okay, got it. So that's the thing. And another thing I need to show, so I spoke about this HTML file, the client side integration and the server side integration, and I need to tell one more thing as a gresponse.service, which will be available for you. That is going to be nothing but your Linux service file. Okay, so let me quickly open it in the notepad. Okay, so see here, description g response, you can just copy this and use it right away. So it runs, makes any of your scripts like shell scripts or Python scripts or any other scripts continuously as a service in Linux. It will help you. Okay, so I'm just pointing the respective directory where I am using it, so accordingly you do it in your server. So this is going to be your variable part and the respective, right, the Flask application here, and you need to tell the exact working directory here. If you could see, in my case the working directory is going to be this. So in your case it is going to be as you going to define, but repeating it to you once again, the gresponse.py, and when you download the zip file, the Google recaptcha.py, they both are the same. And for the HTML code, that if you want to use it at the client side, it is going to be this Google recaptcha HTML file. You can use it from your side. Okay, and the response service, you can have it at the backend. So I will tell you where I have hosted that backend service, right, which is pointing to this gresponse.py file. So you need to go to the cd/etc systemd system, just give it ls, and there is something called as gresponse.service. Just give a cat and double click paste, and here you see, right, I am running this Python script at the backend like this and telling the working directory. And you need to give systemctl start system. You need to do a daemon reload before that. So let me show you that also. Once you write the service, right, Linux service, you need to do some important work here. So I will tell you the daemon command. Yeah, so I'm just highlighting to you from my history command. So once you create a Linux service, right, whatever sample that I'm showing you here, once you create it on this directory, so ensure you create that Linux service.service file inside this etc systemd system, and this is my Ubuntu 22.04, right. Once I create that service file, whenever I create a service file, I need to give this sudo systemctl daemon reload command. Okay, once I do that, what I need to do further is that I need to give the commands like, once I do the daemon reload, systemctl start and my gresponse service file. See, it will be like this. So just make a note of it, right, systemctl start gresponse.service. That's one command, so I don't want to do it again here since it's already running. And another command is going to be enable. Okay, so when the mission reboots, it needs to automatically come back, right, without failing it, that since it needs to run the service continuously. And at last you need to give the status command to see the status of it. Here the status is actually distance, it is running, and it is showing the Flask, it is already running over there. Okay, so first command, what you need to do is, once you create the service file is created inside this directory. The first thing you do is you need to do the daemon reload command, and after doing the daemon reload command, you need to do start systemctl start service, systemctl enable service, third status. You can check, that's enough. So the application will be running continuously at the back end. Okay, so ensure ensure the working directories that you're using to show the Python or the bash, right? It needs to be perfect. You don't miss that. Okay, so if in your case this is going to be the only variable, okay, the script wherever you place, it's going to be thing. And it's always better to give chmod plus x for your Python scripts to execute properly, and also to the Linux service file, whatever that is residing inside this directory, right? It's better to do that so you can avoid some errors. Okay, so this point going to be this is what the video is all about, so you can scale the applications accordingly. So now the next part is, I'm going to explain you is that how I have done this mutual TLS, and what about this nginx proxy configuration that I have done to protect the original rootca.co.in and jaganproxy.in, and this will give you the full clarity out of it. I need to go to the nginx. Okay, cd nginx, so vi nginx conf e. Okay, see here. So forgot about the one that is getting loaded here. Let's talk about the jagantest.in followed by 443 port number SSL, and jagantest.in followed by 5443. So if you could see my set, right, this is what my architecture it looks like in when it comes to nginx configuration. Okay, so jagantest.in is listening to a port number 443 requests. Okay, and I have already registered with Let's Encrypt, so I am pointing to the respective certificate and private key directories, and I have some two for the mutual certificate authentication, right? With mutual TLS, I have created a self-signed certificate called mutual cert. I am ensuring the nginx always asks me to verify with the user asking for the certificate, that is whether the certificate resides in the users or not. If the certificate doesn't exist, you will not be in a position to access the application at all. The application won't load for you. Okay, and if you could see here, according to the diagram, the rootca.co.in is pointing to jagantest.in for 443 file, and here if you could see, I'm doing a reverse proxy configuration with the header and ensuring proxy SSL server name on. These three things are mandatory when doing the proxy configuration. Okay, and for 5443, let me scroll down for jagantproxy.in as per the diagram, right? If you could see here, jagantproxy.in facing 5443, right? This is the nginx configuration that I have done for the hosting. Okay, so jagantproxy.in listening to jagantest.in, but at a different port number 5443 and the same mutual TLS. It is going to ask for the certificate. Now if you, from the demonstration purpose, if you could see, let me close this incognito and open a new browser, and I will show you how it is actually working. It should ask for the certificate, right? Just let me just hit enter, and if you could see, it is asking for the certificate. If I just click OK, it loads, and go for the second one, 5443. It's asking it, just click OK, it loads. So if you could see, there were some pop-ups in between, right? So that is triggered by someone who is actually asking for the certificates, this mutual TLS, right? This guy is actually triggering, nginx is triggering, okay, hey, give me the certificate, I need to authorize you. So this mutual certificate, since if you have read my blog for the mutual TLS, right, I have put the certificate here, and the same certificate is imported on the authorized users personal directory of a Chrome browser, or the Edge, or its Microsoft or Mozilla's proprietary directory in the form of a pfx file, the same certificate. If that is available in their certificate manager or the repository, let them use Mac or Linux or Windows. It is going, this Nginx configuration is going to ask you for the certificate. You need to present the certificate. Only if you present the certificate, your applications at the back end will be working. Otherwise it will tell you certificate not present. You will not be able to see the application. And one more thing I want to show you here, once you saw the verified certificate here at the right corner on the bottom, there is something called as protected by Recaptcha. You see this logo here? So that came because of our Google Recaptcha implementation. So it is going to validate you this course, right? That is why that logo is coming. If that comes, only your implementation is correct. Otherwise your implementation is always wrong. Okay, you need to get that. So this is from the application perspective. Now let's go ahead and check how I have deployed my Python script here. Okay, I'll show you this. Okay. So this particular part, right? It is running to jagantest.in at 443. Okay, so it is listening to that. Okay, here I'm not going to because I'm just talking about my gresponse.py file or my directory Google Recaptcha file. How I have hosted it. I'm running it as a Flask application, right? So once I have done this basic setup for the jagantest.in with 443 with the respective certificates. So let me just go down. Here that py file is running in the Flask server, right? So if you could see that one here, I have written as Recaptcha, and this is the location of Nginx configuration. Okay, so if you ask me how this is working is how it is working is, it is going to look like this. So let me just take it off and give you in the way that you will be in a position to understand. Okay, so I'm just taking this configuration, I'm going to put it in a new notepad. So how to host the application, that is also is very important, right? So you need to, since you're running the service, and you should know how to host it. I'm talking about the Flask server application. I'm talking about this application, how you'll host this application, since it runs continuously the backend. So server 443 jagantest.in, whatever domain you like, and you point the certificates, and what is going to be the next line. So you just come down, just copy this up, put it up here, close it one more. So this gets closed because since this is open here, and this is getting open, and this is getting closed here. Okay, this is one set and this is the another set. So this is how it is. So proxy pass and your application, this is that py file, gresponse.py file, or you can call it as Google Recaptcha.py file. Okay, so you run that py file using the Linux service, and you call that local service here with this URL. Just change it here, and this gets quoted, and that application runs with this along with SSL very happily in a secured, just like an API, I can say. Okay, so and once if you get just go through that HTML file, right, whatever I'm showing you here, you'll be able to understand. See here, Google gives you all these things, the client side deployment, and where you need to send it is actually here, https jagantest.in/recaptcha. So this is your Flask server, Python Flask score collector. That is the URL, jagantest.in.recaptcha. that is your Flask collector, right? So that Flask collector, how it needs to be configured in Nginx proxy, this is how it is. Okay, and this service is a Flask running at the back end as a Linux server. It has been hosted and it needs to be configured in this way, so it works for you. So this is how the structure it is. Okay, this is to host your Flask application, the Flask one, right? Flask. So you have a lot of concepts embedded into it. Okay, so the client side integration key, the server side integration key, all these things. The client side integration key goes inside the HTML JavaScript at your respective applications front end, and the server side key goes inside your Python Flask score collector. and you are running your Python Flask score cutter in the form of a Linux backend service, and that service is used in Nginx to ensure that API is secure, and that API using a backend in the HTML code. If you could read it, you'll be able to see this is the Flask URL, public URL, that it is sending all its requests to using this API. And the same, this server uses the server side key, and it is going to process it with you with Google Recaptcha to get the score. Okay, so that's it. So what I will be doing is that I will be uploading this video in YouTube, and I will be putting the project directory here, all these three files. So you can reach out to me if you have any clarifications. So this is the client side HTML code, and this is the Flask score collector Python script, and how you're going to keep the script and run it in the form of a Linux service. Okay, so in the Linux proxy, you can just refer to this notepad. Okay, how you will host your application as a proxy and keeping it secure, how you will run your Flask application securely with secure SSL. Okay, so just go through this format, or just pause your video, read it, understand, and then you can deploy it, and let me know either by email or something, or some comments in my blog, and you can ask me if you have any doubts. I hope this video was informative, and thank you for watching.